All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming back for the Westfort candidates. All right, so just a quick reminder about how the evening, the second half of the evening will proceed. First, we'll ask each candidate to introduce themselves. They'll have 60 seconds just to kind of explain who they are, their background, anything they want to tell the audience here or being live streamed about themselves. And then we'll move into the Q&A. So very similar to last time, we'll get a random start to the question list, go through. Each candidate's going to get asked one question at a time. They have 2 minutes to answer. So the first minute, it'll light up on green on the screen. The second minute will be yellow. By the time it flashes red, you're basically out of time. Each question will get asked 3 questions in turn, and then we'll have a nice wrap to the evening. All right. So I'd like to officially welcome everyone back and welcome John Collins, Alen Corbett, Kristen Oliver, and David Tommasini, the Westfort candidates. So starting with John, if you'd like to please take 60 seconds and introduce yourself to everyone.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse my voice if it cracks, because I'm just suffering from a voice problem at the moment. But I'm a local businessman in Thunder Bay. I've had my own company for 25 years now. The last 15 years, I own Daytona's Restaurant. I am heavily involved in community service in Thunder Bay, have been for 45 years. My wife and I have our 50th anniversary next year. We have 2 daughters, 5 granddaughters, 1 great-granddaughter. And I believe in Thunder Bay, and that's why I want to be here, to do what I can to help. I think that I have experiences in a business sense that the city needs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. All right. Alen.
Hi, my name is Alen Corbett, born and raised in Westfort. I feel that we have a serious problem in the city, and it is in lifting up the people who have been left behind, whether it comes to the issues we have with regards to the police, or just in general the mental health and various other issues that are being dealt with on a social level. I come from a background of the entertainment industry and the restaurant industry, spent most of my life in those businesses, and now own a company in media that is located on the south side of the city.
Thank you, Alen. Kristen.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Oliver. I'm seeking re-election because for the last 4 years it's been an absolute privilege to be the Westfort City Councillor. Over that time, I think collaboratively we've worked together to achieve some great things. We now see a skating loop at Vickers Park. We're seeing a plan to enhance the Mount Dell boat launch. We're seeing more trees planted, some community safety zones that are being put in to enhance the safety within the ward. And these are all ideas that came from people in the community and in the ward by working collaboratively with myself and city administration. It's been an honor to do this. I am a mother of 2 boys. I have a 12-year-old and a 19-year-old. I want them to see themselves as having a place in this community, that they have a future here in the city of Thunder Bay. And together with my husband, Rick, we're raising our boys over on Ernestine Avenue in the neighborhoods where we grew up, and we're proud to be here, and it's an absolute honor to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. David.
I'm David Tommasini. I'm running for alderman and for Westfort. And I have a family of 3. I have 1 son in university and 2 on the way to go to university. So, and so, yeah, I'm running because of to be an example to my family, and so it's a common man could stand up, and just because the troubles we see in the world has gone crazy. That's what I think. And so at the moment, like with all the rising costs of everything, and the COVID incidents for the last 3 years, my kids were asking me questions, and so I really didn't have the answers why Walmart was open and everything else was closed. So I thought to myself I should stand up and maybe make a bit of a difference if I can. And so this is why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right. So to jump in where we left off for my own personal ease of counting, John, we're going to start with question 13. So, Thunder Bay is projected to have a labor shortage in the near future, and many businesses complain about getting the skilled labor they need to grow. What is your plan to attract the labor force we need to Thunder Bay?
Thank you. Excuse me. I believe that we're going to have to develop partnerships, work with Con College, university, to develop the labor force and also work in the conjunction with the programs that we have with other countries, the new ones that CETA is doing. There's other ones for bringing in foreign workers that are very strong to do it. So I think it's something that we have to look at, is different things like that in there, and try and develop the city into a better place that people want to stay as they grow up. Have something for the youth as they get older, that they actually want to stay and work in Thunder Bay, and instead of going to bigger cities or different cities. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And Alan. Thunder Bay paid for a program and service review which was conducted by an outside consultant in 2020. Can you describe 2 elements of the review that you endorse and articulate why it's important for the future of Thunder Bay?
Thank you, Roger. There's a number of things I've seen in that review that are great that I would endorse, but one of the major things that I noticed was the involvement in HR and the hiring process. I know in a lot of corporate areas that HR is very heavily involved in hiring, and I feel that any reduction of the workload that's put on the managers can result, if times managed effectively, can result in better service from that department. The other area that I endorsed is I noticed there was some IT upgrades in terms of keeping up to date with our data infrastructure. And data infrastructure and computers in general can be a great benefit. They can speed along a lot of processes, but if they're not maintained properly, they become the biggest detriment of any department. So I really think that we always need to stay on top of the technology. Thanks.
Thank you. Kristen. How will you prioritize the demands on city capital spending as varied as waterfront development, downtown revitalization, a new central library, and an indoor sports facility? What kinds of projects should the city be funding, and what should citizens expect in return?
So thanks for the question. I think it's interesting because this is something where we have to find that balance. Like, we know that roads are in desperate need of attention, many roads in this community. We also know that we have to enhance the infrastructure underground with new water lines and all the work that goes along with that as well. But we also need to recognize the importance of enhancing our quality of life infrastructure. So when we see projects like the revitalization of the downtown North Core, it has spurred growth in the commercial building areas. We're starting to see restaurants and stores that are coming along as a result of the revitalization that took place down that way. We also know that council has approved taking down Victoriaville, so we're going to see a whole south side revitalization, and that plan will be getting underway as well too. In terms of quality of life infrastructure, I've said this a few times, we have an issue where we have a declining population. We're going to be relying on immigration to bring up our population numbers, and recognizing that a number of these people are going to be coming from different climates where they're going to be looking for facilities to help cope through the winter. I mean, I hate winter now too, and I've grown up in this country. I can't imagine what it's like for somebody that's coming from a warm country to have to deal with what we deal with. But I think if we're looking at how we entice and attract people here and retain people here, they need to see that there's valuable amenities that'll keep them active, keep our community healthy. And I think that, even in terms of reducing crime, if we could keep our youth busy and engaged, then these types of things are certainly paramount and a priority in how we move forward as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Dave, crime and addiction are major interrelated issues in our community. Do you feel like the current model of policing is appropriate for our community? And what, if any, changes would you like to see to our model of first responders?
Okay, that's a big issue. There's a lot of crime in Westfort area. Every time you turn around, your car is getting broken into. And I think the way to do this is to have the people maybe pull together, maybe have block parents again. And at the same time, I would say maybe put more police out on the streets, and so, if the criminals are doing something they're not supposed to be doing, they'll get a little bit perturbed by seeing the police officers traveling around the community. So other than that, it's just more policing, I would say, that we require. We need to put more police on the ground, more feet on the ground, more cars out there. Just because my car gets broken into every second week, there's always people going through the neighborhood. I live in a decent neighborhood in Vickers Park area, and it's constant. It's nonstop. Now, it's just been like this for the last 10 years I've been there, and there's nothing has been done. So hopefully we can do something, bring that awareness, because it's truly nothing's happening so far. So that's all I can say.
All right. Thank you, Dave. All right, for round two, John will continue down the list with number 17. Many communities on the south side of town feel neglected as the housing stock deteriorates, homelessness is on the rise, and the business community struggles with street-level social issues. What is your plan for revitalizing our most economically depressed neighborhoods?
I believe that we have to invest in more into the infrastructure in the areas, work more on getting not so many derelict homes and businesses and buildings. And if we start to fix that up and then work on the developing like more green space, more family-friendly green space, and just try and get it so more families want to live in Westfort. And I think as we move along, it will improve. But I think, like I say, the thing is to fix it up and make it a very nice place to live, and I think that'll work towards helping more people in that area.
All right, thank you. All right, Alan, as ecological and health concerns for our population mount and seniors become Thunder Bay's largest demographic, walkability has become a top concern for many. Walkable neighborhoods support local business, decrease isolation and loneliness, encourage healthier lifestyles, and reduce our car dependence. Please describe how you intend to make Thunder Bay a more walkable, close-knit community.
I really like what they've been doing lately with integrating like neighborhood businesses. It reminds me a lot of when I was growing up, where we had convenience on corners, things that are within walking access, especially for seniors, but not just for seniors. The ability to put multiple structures in a yard, I think, also help because you can keep your family close. You know, I did read in one of the reports something to the effect of you might not necessarily have the space to accommodate one of your loved ones, but if you're able to put another structure in your yard, that helps. I think that our safe neighborhoods, our neighborhoods need to be safer in order to make it easier for that mobility, for you to get out and be around. There's definitely a lot of challenges that the police are facing, and we need to deal with some of those issues in order to make the neighborhood the right place for this active lifestyle. But we absolutely need the active lifestyle. Let's face it, we could all use a boost to our health, especially after being locked in our houses for 2 years. So I really think that we need to put some attention towards the active transportation initiatives that are happening and better trail structures in terms of being able to get from one neighborhood to the next and throughout the entire city on foot or by bicycle.
Thank you. Kristen, racism and discrimination hurt us all. Reports such as the OIPRD report highlight how Thunder Bay needs to do more to make our city a truly safe and inclusive space for all. How will you demonstrate the city's commitment to reconciliation and the decolonization of public services?
It's interesting because government, both or all, federal, provincial, and municipal, the structures themselves are still set in a colonial mindset. And so there's breaking down the barriers that we already see just simply by the framework of the way governments are structured. I will say that there's conversations and relationship building are key and paramount and a priority to how we move community forward, both on the truth and reconciliation and a path forward. I've had really great conversations with Grand Chief Fox and former Chief Peter Collins. I feel sorry for Peter because there were many Saturday mornings where I would phone and seek his guidance, and he was a great mentor to me. And I think that building those relationships will certainly help foster how we move forward collectively as a community. But I think what's most important through all of this, and this is something that, conversations that we're certainly having at our dinner table, because Truth and Reconciliation is recently fresh, and our youngest son is in grade 7, they did quite a bit at school on teaching that and teaching the impacts of the residential school system and recognizing the generational trauma and the social crisis that we have now before us as a result of all of that. And it sort of gives me some sort of hope that if we're starting the younger generation to have these conversations and to have that fulsome understanding of what residential schools did, the impacts of all of poor government decisions, it's going to help us move forward and deal with the barriers that the systemic barriers rather, that a lot of Indigenous people are experiencing in our community. And if we just listen and build that cultural awareness, I think that it'll help set us on the right direction.
Thank you. All right, Dave. We have gaps in our physical as well as social infrastructure. Many feel that our community is at a breaking point in terms of the social issues that we face and that social services have not kept pace with the problems. What kinds of strategic investments in social services would you undertake, and how do you intend to fund them?
Well, that's a good question. I was just thinking that our social structure for these people that aren't working, I think we should, there's lots of jobs out there. What I've seen, everywhere I go, there's always jobs wanted, employment wanted. And I was thinking maybe the people that are struggling, we could have something in the city, like maybe once a week, maybe Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, we could have a bus or something. We can help, or have a place they can hang out and maybe make a resume or have practical experience. Like there's a lot of jobs that are just like working at coffee shops and whatnot. They're all over the place. Now, I don't understand what the problem is, but maybe they're just not well educated enough to make a resume and whatnot. And so I think we should be able to have somewhere in the city that has a place that these people can go to and have some experience and or maybe even help, right? And so this is what I've been saying. Anyways, that's what.
All right, thank you. All right, and kicking off the last round of questions. All right, John. Abandoned homes, derelict properties, vacant commercial space, and polluted industrial land abound in the city. Legacies of deindustrialization, underfunding by the province, and a hollowing out of our downtowns by strip malls, big box stores, and online shopping present unique challenges to the future of our city fabric. What is your plan to revitalize neighborhoods and combat the degradation of the land base?
I think we have to take advantage of the bylaws that are there and ensure that if people or companies or people are leaving their buildings, that there's something in place there whether they have to be torn down, whether they have to be reused or different, and encourage smaller businesses, different businesses to move into the Westfort core. I think that Brown Street, Frederica, Edward, there's room in that area. If we start to develop again more of that village attitude that used to be there in the past, Aaron moving East Coast Lobster into that area. Other businesses like that. We don't need to put more hairdressers or restaurants there, but I think there's a lot of small local businesses that would love to be in that area, and I think it's the type of thing that we have to go after. And like I said, and also enforce the bylaws to make sure the buildings aren't just abandoned and left and become that way and tear down. And if they have to be torn down, then maybe that's something the city has to look at in the plans. I don't have all the answers, but that's something in my thoughts anyway. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. Alan. The city owns a diverse array of publicly owned properties for a wide variety of purposes. We own golf courses, commercial office buildings, sports arenas, and parking garages. All of these are capital expenses that the city must maintain, often at taxpayer expense. What should be the set of guiding principles that determine what kinds of buildings and facilities the city should run at taxpayer expense?
Thank you. Let's be honest, we all know that we're short money in a lot of areas. We have major need for budget and policing. The police need a new building. We have sports groups that want to build a sports facility. We have to start taking a very detailed cost-benefit analysis approach to everything that we own. There are items in the city that are dragging our budget down, and we can't have that. We need that budget. So I feel that we need to go through our list of properties and assets, and we need to make sure that we're maintaining the properties that make sense to maintain, the businesses that the city is running that make sense for the city to be running because they're a benefit to the city. Now, it doesn't mean that anything that doesn't profit has to go. There are definitely sports facilities and such that we already have that contribute to our active community that we need for our health. But we have to take a real hard look. We have to make some hard decisions on some of these things. We need to find money to manage our infrastructure and to move forward as a community and deal with the many problems that we're facing. And if we don't do that, we won't be an attractive picture for future investment and development, which we need for jobs in the future. And we also need to attract new residents, or we won't have the people to staff the jobs that we do have. In order to do that, we need to save as much budget as possible in every area. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. All right, starting from the top again. City Council appoints the majority of members of the Police Services Board, with 2 councillors sitting and 1 community representative appointed by council. This allows council to indirectly shape the future of policing in our community. What strategies would you like to see implemented by the Thunder Bay Police Service to address crime in our community?
So I think it's kind of funny that I got this question. As the former chair of the Police Services Board, I'll give you some inside baseball. So I think first and foremost, it's important to recognize that the board undertook a strategic plan, and through that plan, there was a lot of consultation with stakeholders, with rights holders, with community groups, citizens, anybody and everybody. There was a public survey that was put out to gather as much information as we possibly could at that time to help us develop our strategic plan. So there's the pillars in there certainly looking at how we can be more proactive rather than reactive. And it was interesting because this comment, I did hear it with the Nebing folks as well too, and it is a good comment. But I think, when I read this question, to be fair, I think Thunder Bay Police Service is doing an outstanding job in dealing with the crime and the concerns that we are seeing in this community. It's almost daily. There's drug busts that are happening. They're getting drugs off the streets. They're arresting people. But we're seeing catch and release. And so I think that that's where a lot of time and dedication on the advocacy and lobbying front would certainly help from City Council, because there needs to be some accountability. I mean, our police officers are working tirelessly. What the violent crime index that we're seeing in this community, the calls for service that we're seeing in this community, they will outpace even a community of 500,000. And we're seeing a lack of resources and support to assist police in doing the job that they need to do. Yet it's lips above the waterline, and they're doing a phenomenal job with what they can, with what opportunities they have and resources they have before them. So in terms of how do we deal with the crime piece, we also need to look at how do we deal with the social crisis issues that we're seeing in this community as well too. And if we had some intensive investment around mental health facilities, drug addiction, detox centers, that would alleviate a lot of the pressures, because we're also seeing a really successful program with Thunder Bay Police where it's called Impact, where we have a mental health worker that works with the police officer and travels to the calls and works with the officer, so that we're not seeing these people wind up in the hospital. They're getting the treatment in a facility, or in a place rather, that's close and recognizable to them, usually in their home, and it's going to where the services can be most delivered in the most constructive way. My time's out, sorry. I could go on forever though.
All right, last question of the evening for Dave. Small businesses employ about 2/3 of the Canadian workforce and are a critical part of our neighborhoods and communities. How would you use city resources to support the local small business community?
Cut the red tape when they want to start up a new business. That's a big thing. Like I had a business in town, a plumbing business, and it was there was a lot of red tape and whatnot, and there's a lot of hardships for the first 5 years. And so if you can maybe alleviate some of the pressures on and the paperwork and whatnot, because everybody's hitting them at the same time. Like you get compensation is on top of them. Just raising money and whatnot to start a business. And so it's a big deal, and I would think if the city could maybe allocate loans towards some of the small businesses, that would be a great idea. and just so we promote more entrepreneurship out there. And there's a lot of good ideas, out there for sure for these young people. And that's all I got to say really about it. That's it.
Thank you, Dave. All right. So thanks to all the candidates for attending the event. Right? By being here tonight, you show that you value the library and appreciate the critical role it plays in bringing our community together. And I'd also like to thank everyone in the community who came out tonight or is watching at home. You know how important it is to be informed so you can exercise your most cherished rights and choose those who will lead our city forward. I'd like to remind everyone that advanced voting begins October 5th with the final day to vote on October 24th. So make sure you're registered to vote, and please reach out to the city clerk's office if you have any questions about the election or where you can cast your ballot. There are more events throughout the week, culminating with the mayor's debate on October 12th at Waverly Library, so I hope to see you all then. Thank you, and good night.